A shout out to Ge.Holla and
Hey, GeHolla, G.Holla.
Ge.Holla, shout me to God here, man.
All y'all said entertainer, shout out my guy Ge.Holla.
Rocking right now with Ge.Holla, Celebrity Life.
Shout out to Ge.Holla, reaching 1 million listeners on his podcast.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I mean, this young lady is awesome. She is amazing. She is the quintessential example of everything that you could be in life. It don't matter where you from. Don't matter who you connected to. You are the be all to your end all. You know, when you put your destiny in your hands, this young lady is teaching us and showing us these things are possible, that you can be, black. You could be melanated. You could be from this country and not born with a silver spoon and end up with a silver spoon before this time is over with. She is a celebrity fashion stylist, the great niece of the wonderful Billie Holiday, filmmaker, writer. Please welcome to the show, the great Andrea Ward.
Hey, thank you for having me. I really do appreciate the wonderful introduction. And of course, I try my best to set an example for others that may look up to me. So I do the best that I can.
I'm looking up to you now. You are awesome. You're amazing. I got to give you your flowers, before, we never know. Any day could be our last day and every day could be our first day. But I want you to know you smell these beautiful roses and tulips and whatever your orchids, whatever you like. I'm going to lay them out for you so you can know that you really, truly are an amazing person.
Thank you. I definitely appreciate it. That you just brighten my day.
Well, I'm doing well. You're looking bright and lovely in the pink too as well. Thank you for that. Madam Andre, let's get into your story. Where you from originally? Where you hail from? Where you begin?
I am actually originally from Baltimore, Maryland. I don't have the Baltimore accent unless I get mad or upset about something, then you may hear it. So I'm originally from Baltimore, Maryland. My journey began in Baltimore, and then I migrated to California and then Atlanta. So I'm making my way around, And so I originally started out as a fashion stylist. I got into the world of entertainment with New York Fashion Week and LA Fashion Week. And I did that for a couple of years. And then eventually I got into TV and film, and as well as activism, for battered women and children, because I do come from a background of domestic violence. I am also a survivor as well. It has been going, it's now 9 years for me of being free and at peace and happy with my life. And since then, I've turned my journey into such an amazing inspiration for others as well. I started my production company, Redemption Images, the voice for the voiceless as well, where the unheard stories are told. I try to create platforms for those that have been silenced by their abusers, those that have been abused or have been homeless or has had like a tough upbringing.
No, I understand that. And thank you for being vulnerable today and sharing that with us, because through your journey, when we get healed too as well, there'll be someone out there that looks like you, that comes from where you come from, even with a different name. Like it could be maybe not Baltimore, it could be Florida somewhere, it could be California. And they'll say, wow, this lady's been through something similar as me. If she can do it, I can do it. You are such a real, true inspiration. You are the mustard seed that we have been looking for that can further grow our faith and our wisdom. And I thank you for being the courage and being strong as you are to stand in the gap for those of us who are coming along who need that type of wisdom and help.
Good afternoon, as always. I just wanted to briefly go back in about your upbringing. Could you tell everyone a little bit about your upbringing and how you got into the entertainment field?
Yes. So with my upbringing, I was raised by a single mom, along with my twin brother. I am a twin. We are fraternal twins. We're minutes apart. My upbringing was pretty tough. Growing up as a child in Baltimore was pretty tough. The school systems were horrible. The crime rates were at its all-time highest, even higher today that I know of. And, I really struggled a lot through school because I was always deemed as different and weird or quirky, and I just didn't fit in. I didn't fit in with the kids that looked like me in the neighborhood because they were like, oh, you're too light. Or, there was a lot of colorism that would occur. And then when I moved to a certain community, I was the only person that looked like me and my family. and I didn't fit in with the other kids as well. So I had a tough time making friends. I didn't really grow up with friends, but I grew up falling in love with TV and film, and I've been writing since I was 9 years old. And then from there, I would say middle high school, that's when I started getting into the fashion world, like modeling. From modeling to fashion styling to production, I could literally run a whole production by myself, and I am trained to do it. And I have so much experience in that. And there are a lot of talented people in my family, and then we come from a great lineage, like Billie Holiday, Henry Armstrong, or also known as Homicide Hank. We have a lot of creatives. It's just where I'm from. Being a creative is not often encouraged, especially by the older generation.
So you mentioned not being able to fit in, and that's also one of the struggles that currently adolescents still face with social media. Is there any type of advice you would give those adolescents who are struggling with fitting in or just finding their niche?
I would say the key goal is to finding your niche and not try to fit in, because like you may want to fit out, because fitting in is not always the key. You're unique in your own way. You are unique for a reason, you know. So I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with being different, but that's what makes you stand outside of the box. And honestly, if you're trying to get discovered that way, that's the perfect way to be discovered. With this industry is very unique and very versatile, because we we like to support one another, especially people that are creatives, that are different. So create as much as you can. If it's unique, if it's different, if it's weird or quirky, go for it. If that is what generally describes or shows the personality of who you are as a person and your God-given gift and talents, I say go for it.
So I was watching one of your former interviews, and it said that, I want to make sure this is correct, that you taught yourself how to become a fashion designer through watching YouTube videos. Could you give a little bit more insight on that process and how you became more confident in your work that you were eventually able to go to New York Fashion Week?
Yeah, so this started out, I had just gotten out of like a really abusive relationship like 9 years ago, literally 9 years ago. I think today. And
Mm.
um, my brother was the one that found my sketchbooks. I would hide them, they would be collecting dust. And my brother just went ahead and he found it. And he was the first person to actually purchase my first sewing machine. And from then on, every day, I learned from YouTube how to sew. I would take old fabrics or go to the fabric store, cut out patterns, stitch it, put it together, design it. And I had a mannequin to help me kind of do the measuring, or I would have my friends come over and try on some garments just to make sure that it doesn't fall apart. It would be terrible to have your pieces fall apart on the red carpet or even at a runway show. And that's what made me gain the confidence. And then I hired some models and photographers and did the lookbooks. And I was just amazed at what I was capable of, because I was always told, you're not going to go further in life. You're not going to go far. Who would wear your designs, your garments, you're talentless, a lot of mean things, because I was different. I had a unique vision from other people. And I just didn't fit in. I never fit in, ever. Not since I was a kid. Not even now, but I just learned to accept who I am as a person.
So how were you able to still remain motivated with your pieces? Because you mentioned that you had just gotten out of an abusive relationship, and in between your own healing journey, how were you able to still remain motivated to do your creative work?
My daughter. My daughter at the time was very little. She was always looking up to me, always looking to make sure what I was doing, mimicking me, and just trying to imitate what I was doing. And I just wanted to do something to make her proud, especially at the time being a new mom. You always want to make your kids proud. You always want them to look up to you for inspiration or want to be like you, if not more. And I didn't realize that I sparked the movement, and it was so many young girls that was going through abuse that started out like me or that was in my shoes, and they see me, traveling the world doing international shows, and they were like, wow, if she could do it, I could do it too. And I didn't realize how many people I inspired to leave their abusive relationships. I had no idea what I was doing at the time. I'm not gonna lie, I had no idea. I just knew that I wanted to try something new. It was better than just dying. It was better than what I was going through before. Anything was better than what I was going through before. And if you're given a second chance, you have to take it. And I took it and ran for the hills and hit the ground running as hard as I could, and I never looked back.
And as someone who was able to get out of an abusive relationship, how were you able to find the courage to do so? Because like I feel like in this current time, you still have a lot of women who stay in unhealthy relationships because they never seen healthy relationships, or they feel that you have to struggle in love. So how were you able to get out of your situation?
Well, one day I just packed my bags and I left. I moved. It did take some work. I had to change the addresses, file a police report, make sure you have your important documents with you at all times or have them at a separate safe location, and always have standby money just in case. If it's really dangerous, you want to plan your situation out far in advance, let your friends and family know, contact local authorities, agencies, local resources. There's agencies to help you move, relocate, motor vehicle to seal your address. It's a 1-800 number. It's in every state. You can call that if you are currently going through abuse. So my steps were a little different. Everybody has different needs or has to do different steps or approaches just to safely get out as well. But I would say the first step is just leaving, taking all your belongings. Don't even say a word because you're going to end up staying, especially if if that's somebody you love that happens to be your abuser. You're not going to leave so willing and easily, until you've had enough of it. And some situations are different. Some situations you have no choice but to leave. It's life or death. Everyone's different.
So you mentioned that you have this production company that is like for the other voices that need to be heard as well. How did you get to that point where you thought that this was a necessary need within the entertainment community for you to start this type of production company?
Well, about 4 years ago, I got into acting and I studied at this really, really big acting school in London, one of the biggest in the world. I got into it and I studied there for a while. And I learned acting is such a beautiful art, but sometimes there aren't a lot of safe spaces for actors or actresses as well. And I went through sexual harassment from my professor, and I just didn't like the fact that someone had that much power and authority over me. And even being on other sets as like an extra or having a main role, I went through a lot of sexual harassment. Like you're not going to go any further if you don't do XYZ, which are unwanted things I did not want to do and I was not willing to do. And I was just like, well, I might as well start my own production company. I write. I know how to shoot with a camera. I know how to film. I know how to edit. I know how to act. I know how to cast. I know how to do everything. Nothing is stopping me, but it was a way for me to create a safe space for cast and crew because crew members also go through sexual, abuse or sexual harassment as well. And it's more often with women. It happens more often, more than you know. Even with A-listers and B-listers, it's just a lot of times they're afraid to speak about it because they don't want to be blacklisted. And so I wanted to create those spaces to tell these stories we don't often hear about the ugly side of entertainment or about the dangers of domestic violence or about the downs when it comes to being homeless or, being raised in, a troubled home or if you come from a group home or if you're out there in the streets, we don't hear those authentic and true stories. We hear a version of it, which is a watered down Hollywood version of it, which doesn't make sense because how can you tell a watered down version of something that is not all the way the truth and is not authentic and raw if you're trying to resonate with the audience and you're trying to make a difference and be the voice for those that can't speak for themselves, for those that don't have the courage. And I had so much courage to do so many different things in a short period of time. Like I literally went from homeless abuse to award winning film director, producer, business owner, a mom of two now. I have a beautiful bundle of joy on the way, and able to do all the things that I am able to do now, and have international publications with magazines, LA Fashion Week, New York, Netflix credit, so many other connections and so many people I've met along the journey. And that's what keeps me going. And that's what I do now is to make a difference. It's not about the money, it's not about the fame, it's not about the spotlight, the cameras, the lights, the red carpet events. I don't care for any of that. I just want to make a difference, to make my children proud, and to make those that look up to me very proud, and to set an example for young girls that do look like us, like you, like me. Like, hey, it don't matter what background that you come from. I didn't come from a background where my family had money. We literally had to work from the bottom to up. And I literally started from the very bottom, and eventually I went back to school, finished out my degree. I did so many different things when people told me I would fail and that I didn't matter and that I wasn't important enough for people to listen to. And I proved them wrong every time.
That was a very powerful message, because I feel like a lot of times we are told it's based on who you know, what you know, and in order to get yourself in the room. And you were able to get yourself in the room and in the spaces to make opportunities for yourself. So how were you able to say that I'm gonna be somebody in spite of people telling you that you wasn't going to be the person that you became now?
I just had to convince myself every day that I was going to be something much more than what I anticipated for myself. And I am a strong believer of God. I had this vision in my mind, and it was just seared, and it wouldn't go anywhere. No matter how many no's that I got, I always turned those no's into a yes. When someone tells me I can't do something, I'm kind of a hardhead. I like to prove people wrong and prove a point, and I always prove a point, and that's how I was able to continue to push myself. And not just that, but, the little faces that do look up to me, they motivate me, they encourage me, they inspire me to just simply keep going. And for the strangers that are often rooting for me, I don't even know them, but they're rooting for me. And I'm thankful to have so much love and support behind me, because at one point, no one even knew my name, let alone my work, what I stood for, and the things that I do. No one knew.
And for all these obstacles that you overcame, was there any time that you doubted that you would actually overcome them?
Uh, there was one point in the beginning of my career where I had a famous person tell me that I wasn't going to be successful. Who would want to support me? And this was someone that I had looked up to since I was a child. They say never meet your idols. They're the worst person
Yep.
to meet and to idolize. And you just never know. You could see one perspective of a person, and then when you finally meet them, it's like, wow, I'm totally disappointed and hurt. You know, so it could be the total opposite. That was probably the only time in my life when I first started out.
So, as someone who has accomplished so much and been able to travel the world, how do you remain humble in all that you do?
Um, I keep small things like keepsakes as a gentle reminder of where I came from and where I originally started. Like once in a while, you know, I'll I'll volunteer at the homeless shelter, or I'll speak to other survivors of domestic violence or current victims. Sometimes I'll go into schools and speak to young girls that are troubled, that are currently dealing with difficult circumstances at home. Those things that I do will always remind me where I came from, will always keep me humble, and God always keeps me humble as well. You know, I try not to brag about anything. I don't really care about showboating or bragging about anything, but that's what keeps me humble.
For those who may not know the different phases of abuse, because we know there's physical abuse as well as emotional, along with sexual, or is there any type of signs that you could give to others that they may need to recognize that they may be in an abusive relationship?
Yes, so there's physical, mental, and spiritual abuse. Physical, of course, is when someone physically harms you. Emotional abuse is when Gaslighting is also kind of a part of it, as well as when someone disrespects you constantly mentally. They could be mentally abusive. They could say things to mentally hurt your spirit and to hurt you. And spiritually is by using whatever religion that you claim or you're a part of and twisting those words around to say, hey, God said it was okay for a man to strike a woman. God did not say that. And oftentimes in certain cultures, that often happens too because the women believe that they don't have a say so because they're married to their husband, and that's a man of God. And that person could be or claim to be a man of God, but can still have abusive ways. And of course, so sorry, that is my daughter in the background. Also, another form is with money. If your abuser is financially stable and set, they can manipulate you. Like, well, you want me to take care of you. You can't leave me. And if you leave me, I won't give you any money. I'm not paying your bills. And then a lot of times the victims don't really have a way of supporting themselves.
Man, I wanted to go somewhere else with it, but it was like that was just like I'm just thinking about some of my own personal experiences right now. That's like, oh man, there's a lot of times where I've been in those situations where I was unaware of how much emotional abuse that it was, because we do sometimes focus on that physical part, and you guys, a lot of times you also hear women say, well, he's not hitting me, so it's not that bad, it's not this, it's not that. But then you think about the emotional, the financial, even the spiritually, because I think even for myself, I forgot about the spiritual aspect of it, how sometimes people can break your spirit so much that you don't even realize that's a form of abuse. So I want to thank you for that, because that actually made me think about some things myself, and like, man, it's a long battle. And I hear a lot of women sometimes say, well, well, I can deal with the physical more so than da 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 da, or I'll stay. And like you mentioned before, you just have to get out. You have to find yourself. So how, for those women who believe that they have no voice, what kind of advice would you give them in order to find their voice?
I would say to let someone know what is going on. Let someone know, like a family member or a friend. And I would just say, speak your truth. Start going to therapy to find your voice. I found my voice going to therapy. And honestly, I didn't think I had a voice. And honestly, if it wasn't for my therapist, I would not be the person that I am today. I wouldn't have gotten into film if it wasn't for her. I wouldn't have been writing about these stories if it wasn't for her. She actually helped bring the courage out of me because I wasn't courageous and I wasn't brave at first. I was very closed off and I would say timid because of everything that I went to physically, mentally, and spiritually as well. Like I was spiritually broken. You have to heal within yourself and out to find your voice. That's the best way I could put it.
Now I gotta brag on you a little bit because you don't want to brag on yourself. So let me do some bragging on you. You are super cool and super smooth. Let me tell you, I was looking at these angel numbers of the numerology of number 9. I listened to what you were saying earlier, how you said this is your 9th year. When we look up the number 9, guess what we find? We find a symbol of spiritual enlightenment, completion, compassion. I know you know that word because like you said, you had to switch industry because you wasn't feeling no passion in that last one. Selflessness and consciousness. Is this not who you are today? Aren't you the perfect example, the quintessential example of the number 9? You are divine. I appreciate you.
Thank you. And everything happens for a reason, all in God's timing. And I believe that.
Cool. I'm checking you out on IMDb because I got to brag about your little bit. You know what I'm saying? That's why you here on My Celebrity Life. Let's talk about some of your credits, if you do or do not mind. I'm looking in some of your past. In 2018, you had a short, which was The Amazing Mr. F. Can you tell the audience what that is about?
Yes, that was a T.I. music video. I was a extra in that. I don't know how I got into that music video. I think it was like when I first started acting, and I just ended up on a set with T.I. and he came out with I forget the gentleman's name, but he's in the Power Book 101, and he plays, I don't know, he plays Mary J's son, oldest son, or second oldest. So it was quite shocking and surprising. So that was one of my very first credit. Another credit that I got, I'm the creator of Umbrella Academy. So it's called the Umbrella Academy, and he was nice enough to cast me for it. And then I end up having my first speaking role. And then they called me Fake News Girl. And it was cool. It went viral. It was on Netflix. And I was like, I don't know. Okay. All right. I mean, I did go to school. Okay. I'll take it. I'm super like shy about things. I don't like to brag about things at all. And it takes for people to like Google and they're like, oh, you did this. And I'm like, I'm so sorry. I have 2 dogs driving me crazy right now. But I did that, and then I do have a BET credit, my first director's credit with James Worthy and Big Gip of Goody Mob. That was super like amazing. I was shocked to even have that role, to be able to produce and direct it as well, and also be an executive producer for the music video. I had 2 days to get everything together for production, from hair, makeup, location, actors, actresses, barbers, stunt people, lighting, sound, you name it. It took me 2 days. And another project that I did was a short called Reborn Redemption. And that was one of my first experimental projects. And I'm so big on mixed martial arts. I do have a background in Krav Maga and Muay Thai as well. A lot of people don't know that. And so I did my first martial art film off of $100, and it won a lot of award wins for different festivals all around the world and the country. So I'm super excited about that as well.
Oh wow, you on your Steven Seagal, Van Damme, I see. Okay. But I mess around with you, you're like, oh, what I'm saying? That's what's amazing. Yes, I see you kung fu and the dogs right now. I won't hold you too much longer.
No, I'm trying. Yeah, they're just like, I have one that she'll get mad if I ignore her and I happen to leave out the house. She will lock me out the door, eat my food, lay in my bed.
Like, that's me.
Yeah. and I have another dog that twerks.
Okay. Twerks?
Yeah, I don't have to make these. I wasn't blessed with that. I don't know if they learned it from. He's an odd one.
That's an interesting story for another time.
Oh yes, my website is www.redemptionimages.com. It should pop up. And all my social media handles is Redemption Images for Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and my public figure page, which you may see me doing a lot of sword fighting with that as well, is Andrea the Creative on Instagram.
Oh, so you a real life ninja. Oh, man, this is cool. So did you, growing up, did you watch a lot of television movies where it was centered around like ninjas? Like in the 90s, the Wu-Tang, they really popularized it for like urban kids like ourselves, you know what I'm saying? But were you really big on like Kung Fu and martial art films coming up?
Yes, I could name every martial art form there is. I could name all the top martial art films, including indie films, foreign films, and American films.
Do you know the name of the black guy that beat Bruce Lee?
I feel like I know this. What is his name? I know this. He's really tall. Oh, I'm so bad with names. I know who you're talking about, but yeah, I'm familiar with him. It'll come to me probably after this.
That's okay. We'll put his name up. Victor Moore. That's right, Vic Moore. he was known to be, he sparred with Bruce Lee and he actually beat him. He said beat him with ease. I know a lot of people got mad because, Bruce Lee is the quintessential example of the top tier martial arts person. But we study and we know martial arts really originated in Africa and not in China. And then also we know from studying that we also populated China too as well. The very first Negus or Nagas were Black people. So, and that's also well documented too, from out of the Africa theory where we went. It says we moved towards the eastern part of the world before we populated this part of the world.
Oh wow, I'm learning stuff every day.
That's right. That's right. We're great people. Like you said, we're more than just one type of being this prototypical, everybody got to be cool and sagging their pants. There's a lot of us that like to read, that are off base a little bit, that are loners in that sense and lone wolves. And I think all of that is dope too. I don't think we should all have to always mirror each other in every single aspect. That ain't just being Black. Is not just being like, one particular type of thing. Even our hair, when you look at different cultures, you will see like there are certain Black people, they have thin noses with curly hair. There are Black people who have blonde hair with blue eyes that haven't mixed with no other culture. They'll be dark as midnight. So the earth and our nature is teaching us there is no one prototypical type of person. We can be anything that we want in this world. The world is ours. The universe is ours. And God truly does favor you because he has blessed you with the covering of the gift of different shades of hues where you can stand into the sunlight and get all those nutrients and things of that nature. So you are awesome and amazing. I just wanted to tell you that, saying all that.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you. Is there anything that we didn't cover today? I don't want to hold you too much longer because I know you all are busy. Are you working on anything? Are you going to be somewhere? Are you putting together another production where you need like some actors or actresses or camera people? Whatever that you need right now, you can put it out in the universe and see how it comes back to you.
I'm actually working on another production called Final Desire, so I will be casting for it. It's a psychological thriller. Sorry. And I will be releasing my book called Pain into Power. It's an inspirational book for how I started my journey from homelessness to award-winning director, producer, all on my own with no help and no training. And if I did get training, all through like self-experience.
I feel like I've been so touched. Like literally, I'm just so saved because I had an uneasiness feeling today all day, and I've just been praying like, whose spirit is this? Like, what is it that I need to release? And like speaking to you has allowed that feeling to release because I feel like there's a lot of people, especially women right now, who need to hear the message that you gave today. So I just want to thank you for that because I've been speaking to a lot of people lately who are in different relationship types, not understanding where they need to go, how to fulfill themselves, as well as feeling like they are broken. So I think your message will help those women and other people as well. So my only other question is for, like you just mentioned, you're going to be casting soon. So how will people be able to find you for that casting or find a notification about it?
Yeah, so it would be through our website at www.redemptionimages.com. We usually put the castings through Actors Access, LA Casting, and Casting Frontier. A lot of information I learned from my grandmother about it. And she said she was a tough woman. She was really strong, and that she went through a lot of segregation and racism during the era of the jazz era, and that she was not respected in high spaces and higher places. It took for someone else that was Caucasian or white to stand up for her and allow her to perform in certain spaces. I do resemble her in a lot of ways, especially facial features, bone structure, high cheekbones, and as well as drive and willingness to pursue the things that I want in life. She had a tough upbringing, but the upbringing wasn't as bad as hers, and I'm thankful for it. But unfortunately, she died horribly, and she did go through a lot. We do have like a piece of her journal that was passed down. No one has a copy of it. No one has it except me. So I'm actually the only one that has it.
Cool. All right, doggies. We held it
Thank you.
long enough. You know, we know y'all want her attention now. Madam Andre, did we miss anything today that you would like to talk about before I let you go?
No. Hey guys, it's your girl Andrea Ward, and I am on MycelebrityLife. So stay tuned, check them out, and let them know I sent them your way.
Thank you so much for being the quintessential example of true courage, true beauty, true understanding, wisdom, standing against the tides of oppression and violence and all of the horrible things that happened to you. And you stayed here to endure all of that, to become this new creation that we're seeing before us, being this awesome, wonderful woman, being this true divine light in the universe, and always shine your light in everything and everywhere you go. Your very essence, whether you realize it or not, you are medicinal just by you being here. For us to be able to see you, you're causing healing upon somebody else. I'm honored to meet you on this journey. I know Kimmy D is honored to meet you on this journey. And please, all the days of your life, please let your light shine. It was a pleasure meeting with you, having this interview, and thank you very much.
Thank you for having me, and it was a pleasure meeting you both, and you guys just make my day.